I wanted to help people. And while this is a roundabout way of doing that, I feel like I am, and I'm helping people beyond the people that we see on the project site. It's the people that we don't see who we really have to be thinking about, those family members and the parents and brothers and sisters, uncles, aunts that are all expecting this person to come home. And I get to play a role in that. I really appreciate that opportunity.
Welcome to the Canary Report, the podcast where risk leaders, safety professionals, and operational executives come for real-world stories and smarter strategies to keep people safe. I'm your host, Michael Zhao. In each episode, I sit down with exceptional leaders who are transforming how risk and safety are managed. Whether you're a leader of a nationwide EH&S program in a high-risk industry, or you champion workplace safety across 200 retail locations, this podcast is for you. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Canary Report, the podcast where risk leaders, safety professionals, and operating executives come for real-world stories and smart strategies to keep people safe. I am your host, Michael Zhao, founder and CEO of Yellowbird. Today, I have Victor Buhr. He gave me the opportunity to call him Vic as a friend, and I appreciate that. Vic is a director of safety at and regional safety manager for Brennan Company. J.F. Brennan is a family business, is a nationwide leading marine and heavy civil engineering contractor. They have more than a century of history, which is, I look forward to talking with you, Vic, about that, because working in a family business for this long in this industry of complex maritime and other things is quite interesting. And so I'm sure our listeners are going to enjoy. Your background is amazing, so I'm giving everybody a little bit of reason why they need to listen to Vic today. He's got over a decade of experience in marine construction. He also is overseeing all the risk and the training and the projects, pretty much everything that has to do with the risks associated with their operations nationwide. He works closely with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. He's been in accident prevention planning, as well as understanding the various project division managers. Most importantly, because we are a human business, he is a really great human being and has a wonderful family. And we are very fortunate to be recording this when everybody has off. It is December 23rd. So we are recording from our homes, and I appreciate you doing this, Vic, today. And I first and foremost just want to welcome you to the podcast. So welcome, Vic.
Thank you, Michael. I'm very excited to be here. I'm a huge fan of the podcast, and having an opportunity to be a guest here is incredible. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, I like to say, and I mean it, that we are a human podcast. We're a human industry, and everything we do at the end of the day helps keep our people not only safe, but also getting home and staying home and retiring and all the things that we can do long term. So tell me about you as a man and as a father and as a husband and all the good stuff. Tell us about your family life a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. So I waited until I was 39 by happenstance to actually pull the trigger and get married. I met my wife when I was actually working on a project in Dubuque, Iowa, in 2018. She had 3 children who were all in high school, middle school, and elementary school at the time, and so I was brought into this family with a wonderful wife and 3 fantastic children who have since gone on to, one just graduated from from Platteville, Wisconsin, and is teaching in Madison, and our middle daughter is going to school in Madison and working at a daycare, and our youngest is 18 and just joined the Operating Engineers 139 union out of Wisconsin here, and so he's just now embarking on his career. And my wife is the vice president of human resources for a casino in Dubuque, Iowa, and so she's incredibly busy. There's a lot going on in our family right now, but it's all very, very good things.
Well, it's fantastic. Well, I commend your son for he got into the union. He's going into his trade. He's going to do phenomenally well. I'm so excited to hear that. I'm always a huge fan when I hear that these kids understand kids. Again, they're young adults, but I've got a 21-year-old, so I can call anybody under 30 a kid at this point. But that they understand what they want, and that there's no single path for everybody. It sounds like your other two are very much into children and teaching, and between daycare and education, and that's wonderful, man. It's a blessing, and I love the fact that you had a quote unquote bolt-on family that you have embraced, and sounds like you got a lovely and a fantastic community there. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. It's more than I could have ever imagined, and I'm grateful every day. Yes.
So tell me about your story about when you started out of wherever you started. Let me know how you got into the safety world. Nobody wakes up at 12 years old and said, when I grow up, I'm going to be a safety guy. It just doesn't happen. So what did your path look like?
Yeah, if only the path were that simple. But no, I was 15 years old when my father came home and said, "Hey, guess what? You're going to work, and I got you a job washing dishes at a local restaurant, and you start tomorrow morning." I actually, I fell in love with kitchens and the chaos and all of that, and so I went to school for culinary management after I graduated high school, and I spent 15 years in the hospitality and restaurant industry, running bars and restaurants. And then, I was kind of becoming a little disillusioned with that. I wasn't enjoying it as much. And I had a conversation with my father, who had worked for a company called JF Brennan for 30 years. And
I've heard of them. Yep.
yeah. And he said, "Hey, have you ever thought about construction safety?" And it's one thing that had absolutely never crossed my mind. And
Sure.
him and I had a conversation. He said, "Hey, Brennan's really looking to take a different approach with employee safety." He said, "We've hired people who've come in with all kinds of credentials and have gone through all the schooling and have done all of those things, and
Yep.
it's just not working out real well for us.
Yes.
We're going to start looking at bringing people on who have the personality for it and who are trainable." And he
Yes.
said, "I think you would fit that." So there was a lot of hesitation there, Michael.
Oh,
It's
sure, of
something
course.
completely new. And at the time, my very first question was, "Oh man, construction safety, you're the most disliked person on the entire project site?" And, that was the stigma at the time, and unfortunately still can be to an extent. But he said, "No, that's exactly what we're trying to change." And so I really got in on the ground floor of Brennan's focus on safety and safety initiative and growing the department. And when I started, it was the vice president of safety, and then two of us that were field safety managers, so boots on the ground, traveling around to all of our projects. And it was within a couple of short months that I really realized, hey, this is a career and a place for me. I loved the company. I had known the company for many years because of my father, of course. But being on the job site, seeing how you can interact with the employees and really taking ownership of the safety and getting them to take ownership of the safety, I enjoyed it so much. I enjoyed it so much. There was a time when I had looked at going into social work because I wanted to help people. And while this is a roundabout way of doing that, I feel like I am, and I'm helping people beyond the people that we see on the project site. It's the people that we don't see who we really have to be thinking about, those family members and the parents and brothers and sisters, uncles, aunts that are all expecting this person to come home, and I get to play a role in that. And I really appreciate that opportunity. And that's kind of where I've ended up now. So.
It's funny you should bring that social work, giving back. I find, I'm very, very fortunate that I get to have these conversations with people like you and other leaders in safety. And there is a through line of nobody goes into it wanting to be the safety cop. Nobody wants to be, it's almost like being a parent in many ways, but not being a bad parent, but being a good parent that enables your children to learn why, not just because I said so, right? And that's the safety cop versus the non-safety cop is the parent that's iron fist, do it because I said so. And there's the other side that says, let's understand why, I want you to be a successful human being, and I want you to know the right, proper, whatever you want to call it, ways of handling yourself. As that's why you're going to clean your dishes, 6-year-old Joey, right? Because when you're a 15-year-old Joey, don't be that guy that just leaves his dishes on the table and walks out of the room. It's the same thing in our world. And I do find that caregiving aspect, that social working, that really thinking big about the human beings is a huge part of this. What does the organization look like in total? Like primarily, what are you all working on, and what are the things that kind of are hot buttons for you?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, we are a family company started in 1919. Tony Binsfeld, I won't be able to say the exact year that he retired, but he left the company probably around 8 years ago, give or take. And then his four sons came in to take over the business, and they are very driven individuals who are always looking for the next opportunity, the next way that we can make an impact as a company. And so over the last 12 years that I've been with the company, we've grown exponentially, and we're headquartered out of La Crosse, Wisconsin. But we now have offices East Coast, West Coast, North, South, as far as Duluth, Minnesota, North, working with the Great Lakes, and down into Kentucky. We have an office location down there. We have some in Washington State, in California, one in North Kingstown, Rhode Island, primarily focusing on underwater services and dive work. But we're split up into a few different divisions. Environmental sediment remediation through dredging is a big part of our company. We've done a lot of contaminated sediment jobs, Grand Calumet River, the Fox River in Green Bay. Really been a successful area for us, and a rewarding area for us to work as well. You're really making a difference and making an impact. Our underwater services, we've grown to become the largest inland waterway dive company in the United States over
Wow.
the last 10 years. And we now employ roughly 100, maybe 100 plus divers right now, professional divers, really an area that we are continuing to advance and grow in, and being able to do some projects that you would historically had to dewater and put in cofferdams and those
Right.
types of
Right.
dangerous things we can now do with diving. And the more and more we can do with remote operated underwater vehicles as well,
Yes.
even adds another layer of safety there.
Oh,
And then we have our construction division, which works on hydroelectric facilities, lock and dam facilities on the Mississippi River and Illinois River, and we do some work with the railroads as well. So we're really a multifaceted company, but we like to say that everything that we do is above, below, or adjacent to a waterway.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, being the safety geek that I am, you mentioned DOT, you mentioned the Department, Railroad Commission, you've got multiple states that have state OSHA requirements and federal. And then, because you're on waterways, you are dealing with the Army Corps, and you're also dealing with the Coast Guard. So I can only imagine the complexities that you have to contend with. Are these 100 divers, are they all FTEs, or is it a mixture of full-time and part-time folks?
They're pretty much all full-time divers. Yeah, we get them right out of dive school, and they generally join either the pile drivers or the carpenters union, and then they come in and work for us. So they're all ADCI certified divers, and yeah, pretty much all full-time. We're able to keep them busy even through the winter seasons.
Wow. Well, yeah, I imagine, and that's one of the good parts about being Florida and California at times. You're not having to go under the ice to do some of the work that you're doing in Wisconsin.
And we do plenty of that underneath the ice type of diving as well. So it's but they say they're the most comfortable people on the job site when it's cold out because they have hot water suits running, keeping them warm. So
From a safety program's perspective, what is your obligation with, you've got a lot of different things. Like, how do you handle the ongoing training for the divers or for the folks that are working in, how are you handling all that kind of stuff?
well, I'm glad you asked about the divers specifically because there's something we're really excited about. As I mentioned, there's four brothers that run the company, and education and training is a huge part of their overall philosophy of the company. We have something we call Brennan University, and it's classes that we both bring in instructors. It's classes that we've developed, and it's classes that we also teach. But one of the things we're really excited about that's coming in 2026 for the divers specifically is that we are putting in a full size certified dive tank for our divers to practice and train and really be those world class divers that we want to have at Brennan. And so that'll be a big part of our training initiative for the divers going forward. A lot of these guys come out of the ADCI, and while they are very good divers, they don't have the construction background and the construction experience that they need. And so now we can really do that with them, which makes them safer and also more efficient, right? Beyond that, we have a dedicated training center at our headquarters in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and we put on a very robust training program from the months of January up through April, sometimes into May if necessary. And we bring all of our people in from every trade that we have and from every part of the company that we have, and we do their refresher trainings, their HAZWOPers, their MSHAs, their OSHA trainings, first aid, CPR, bloodborne pathogens.
That's a big
All
investment.
Yeah, it's a big investment. And as I said, we couldn't be luckier to have owners who really focus and care about that training, and they want their people to be out there and know what they're doing and know how to do it safely.
Absolutely. It's so refreshing to hear somebody like yourself talk about the importance of the face-to-face real world training. I think the industry, particularly heavy civil, like you're working in, I mean, you're dealing in tons and tons and tons of weight. You're dealing in a lot of power sources. You're dealing with probably you're among the most challenging environments around things that can hurt or kill you, and so you need to be extra diligent about that. Um, as you've expanded, are you getting on a cycle for quarterlies and things like that where you're always bringing people into the centers, or are you doing kind of the annualized and then having people come out and do, the on-site refreshers or you got turnover? I mean, you're a big company, so obviously the person who came and got their training 2 months ago, hopefully is still there. But if they're not, what do you do for onboarding and to get people trained up when you need them, working, you know?
Yeah. So we are fortunate in that we are a union company. So most of the people who are coming to us are going to have their basic, construction regulations and safety trainings that they received through their union halls. And so we're not starting with somebody who's starting from scratch necessarily, but there is a lot of nuance that goes on with our work, and just the way that we have to do things as it relates to the marine industry. And so we do provide all of that training on site for the employees when they're onboarded. We go through their trainings and see where they're at and gauge that, and then decide from there what trainings they need in order to be able to work on our site safely. Most of our training is the annualized, as you had mentioned.
Sure.
And so the folks that work out of our training center, this is their Super Bowl, is from January to May. They
Yeah.
spend the rest of the year dealing with compliance and preparing for this season. So throughout the weeks of the first weeks of the year and first months of the year. We will have a steady stream of employees coming in and out of the training center to receive their training.
It's funny or interesting because I often say that the things that are important, the things that matter the most, are often the day-to-day rituals. And, I think that having the annualized team building opportunity is so vitally important, and then getting the rituals to reinforce throughout the period. Now, I think you said last time we spoke, you had roughly 60 jobs in motion in 48 states. I don't know if that's changed. It's been a couple of months, but are you about the same now?
Yeah, that's a pretty good. That's kind of what I throw out anytime anybody asks me, what do you have going on? Because it can fluctuate quite a bit due to the time of the year. But as we expand, through geographically throughout the United States, where we're not Midwest based anymore, that consistent work it really become prevalent for us. And yeah, so right now I've got projects going in Wenatchee, Washington. We're starting one just outside of Las Vegas, a contaminated sediment job. I've got multiple jobs going on locking dams right now that can't be done, frankly, during the summertime because of the boat traffic that's going through them. So this is the time that we can get in there and do that work. And so, yeah, we've been very fortunate to see, consistent 12-month out of the year work.
Yeah, it's interesting because we have found on our side that we're doing at this time of the year, and I think we actually have a deal going with you. I don't know where it is, but we're doing a lot of rigging and inspections, your annualized inspections. That's usually like the first quarter, end of the year, first quarter, getting all these, riggings and all these certifications, all the things you have to do. And then we find the rest of the year, the ongoing monthly trainings, just boom, just always having somebody showing up. Is How do you operate from a cycle perspective on your required annualized inspections, and then you'll also have your trainings and operational compliance stuff? What does it look like at Brennan?
Well, as I've said, we've grown over the last 10 years, and we've gone from 3 of us in the safety department to now, I would say we're approaching close to 30 between people that are in the office and support staff, and then myself and 16 other boots on the ground out in the field safety people. And um, so our annualized inspections, such as the rigging inspections that you had mentioned, those are completed by our boots on the ground safety people traveling around to each and every one of our jobs and going through the rigging, putting it in their hands and laying actual eyes on it, going through it and
I want
tagging
to change
everything.
that, right?
I do know you're looking to change that. Um,
I'm sorry.
yes, sir.
I
And
had to do it.
there's an efficiency piece there as well, for sure. But so right now, yeah, that responsibility falls on our boots on the ground safety people, with the
Yep,
support of the superintendents and foremen, of course.
of course. Yeah.
Um, and as far as the trainings, and it's interesting that you bring this up because this is one of the first years that I think we're going to have to do some hybrid type training where we actually go to the job sites and provide training in a way to the employees who are doing the work for 12 hours a day. And trying to navigate what that might look like right now is kind of a challenge. We don't want to stop production, right? It's that ever present battle between production and safety, but we still need to get these trainings done. So we're looking at first aid CPR training for people who have had it previously. Can we take a week of safety meetings and do 15 minutes increments of refresher training on first aid CPR, and then culminate on a Sunday when we're working with the hands-on practical, and then recertify these guys? How can we do that? So we're really trying to think outside of the box, and how do we maintain these certifications while also keeping the production that is necessary during the winter seasons. Yeah.
What you're touching on right here is probably the biggest plight of the safety leader in not just in construction, but in any kind of blue collar working man and woman's world, where you have these surge needs. It's like you make hay while the sun's shining, as they say. And so last thing you want to do is take, your resources, your full-time employees that should be producing, and take them out of commission for travel and hotels and all that stuff. You also don't know what everybody needs. And so, like, you can go to a site and you say, okay, these folks need lockout, tag out. These folks kind of need forklift or fall protection. They need rigging and, like confined space. Like, it's like whack-a-mole, right? And so, I think the hardest part that I've found, and I think you're reinforcing it, is when the weather doesn't cooperate for whatever reason. Most people go, okay, let's train right now. Like, because like if it's storming or if it's raining, but you can't really forecast that. You don't really know when there's going to be a major storm coming in. And it's like, oh, now I have 100 people sitting, get them all through training like right now. It's like not the easiest thing to prepare for. So I think you're smart in the way that you're looking at it as, moving people around into the environments that are ideal, and hopefully managing that in a way that's as efficient as it could be. Even Yellowbird, as efficient as we are, it's just a really cumbersome process. Like, no matter who you like, we're super efficient, but you've got 100, 200 people with all these different expirations and timing and scheduling and time cards and all this stuff. And you're like, okay, I got to keep track of all of this stuff. Even if you do it localized, even if you do it with a Yellowbird person or some other person or internally, it's hard. So, what do you guys use for like just managing it? Like just from a, is it still spreadsheets and such, or do you use, what do you guys use just in general?
We're very lucky that we have our dedicated training center, and we have an incredible staff that works in the safety and compliance department that is always in the training center, and their job really is to track and maintain these trainings. Yeah, it used to all be through the process of spreadsheets, and fortunately, over the last couple of years and into the next couple of years, we are automating that process through different types of software. Power BI has been
Yes.
um,
Yes.
a really great addition for us in sending out. We can set it for the divers who might have physicals that need to
Right.
be done every year, and so they'll get an alert a month, 2 months before their dive physical is coming due, saying, "Hey, let's get you scheduled for a dive physical. It's coming up." Same with our skills and certifications. We have alerts that get sent out to the employee about 2 months before their certification is going to come due, and it says, "Hey, your first aid CPR or your rigging and signaling certification is going to be expiring here in about 2 months. Let's find a way to get that updated." And then that's really where the support staff in our training center, that's where they get creative and find
Yep.
a way to get those people in for physicals and recertifications.
Now, are they also traveling? Are your people in your training center? You've got that beautiful center, and I'm so impressed with the Brennan University that you guys are building. Can't wait to come see it at some point. I'm excited about that. Um, do they also travel out to the field? Like if they say, "Oh, we have 15 folks that need to be on machines that are not safety trained or not certified yet to be on those machines." So do they fly out to those locations as well? Or because some of these things have to be done on machine or on vehicle.
So that will fall, the majority of that on-site equipment specific training is coming from our boots on the ground safety people. Again, these folks are coming out of the union with their forklift certification, and hopefully it's good throughout the project and doesn't expire. But what we do on site is we gather that certification from the person, and then we have something that we call an operator performance evaluation, and we do that for every operator on every piece of mobile equipment. Because just because you have a card doesn't mean that you can operate that piece of equipment in a way that we would consider safe. And so we have a checklist for each piece of equipment. And when somebody new comes in, and let's say they jump in a RT crane, we will break out that operator performance evaluation, and the safety person or another operator will, and this is all on tablets, iPads. They will watch them operate that piece of equipment and watch them go through the controls and give them some commands and things that they need to do. And if all goes well, we sign off on that and say, yes, we've watched this person operate this piece of equipment and they're doing it in what we would consider a safe way. And then they will sign it as well. We send it in and it goes in as part of their skills and certifications. And we do that for every piece of equipment, from skid steers to telehandlers to tugboats to, John boats, and, all the way across the board. The training center people, they do travel, but it's more to travel from our training center here in La Crosse, and they will basically pick up everything and go to Rhode Island and do training out there for a week in a classroom setting, out to Washington and do training out there in a classroom setting. So not so much boots on the ground on projects, but certainly traveling around from location to location, office locations. Yes.
I'm going to throw this out here just so you know it's offered to you. And I guess if I'm putting it on a podcast, maybe I'm offering it to the world. But we have a beautiful training center in my building. And if you ever need it in Phoenix, it's yours. So just feel free to reach out to me if for some reason you're doing projects. Now, it is close to the dam because the Hoover Dam is not far from here. And we also have Roosevelt, Lake Roosevelt, which is also it's a dammed river. So if you ever need it, it's yours.
Very good. I was going to say there's one thing you're missing in Arizona that we require for our work, but
you
corrected me there.
I got you. It's actually a lot of our community here are very outdoorsy kind of people. Like you go to Arizona and you're going to find a lot of outdoor sports, a lot of trail runners, a lot of folks that like off-roading, lot of boats and things like that, because we've got some big waterways around here. Not far from Lake Havasu, not far from these various different dammed lakes and so forth. So I think you'd probably do some work out here. So how do you contend with and this is, by the way, none of these questions are easy, and I understand there is no one size fits all. But how do you contend with literacy and language? Like, you're a big company and you deal with a lot of blue collar and also white collar and all the way through, and trades. And how do you deal with like different language challenges? Because I think it's one of those things that's just really complex in this environment we work in.
Because we're in such a niche industry, we don't necessarily have the wide range of ethnicities that have been coming in to do the work. So we haven't really had the challenge with Spanish speaking individuals and that type of thing as of yet. I'm sure it will be coming, but specifically on language, interestingly enough, we went up to Quebec over the last couple of years and did a major project up there running the Hurdle New York submarine power cable from right around Lacole, Quebec, down to the Bronx in New York City. And so as you know, everyone in Quebec speaks French. And so that was quite something to acclimate our people to. And, we're the ones coming there to work. And so we're the non-native language speakers up there. And so that was an interesting challenge. And I think certainly will serve us well if we do get into a time when we do need to navigate some of those challenges. We've got some experience with that. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I'm telling you, like I said, you were one of my most excited. I was most excited about speaking with you today because you deal with so many dynamic things in the world that you live in. I honestly, and I've said this a time or two to other people, but I think you now have the gold medal on the scorecard for the most, just dynamics of, things to contend with. So, going back to the personal side of your world, and this is something that I always find to be an interesting conversation. I have found a through line, and I want to see if it holds true with you. So, what are your personal hobbies, passions, interests? What do you like to do when you're not working, which is not a lot, I know, because I've heard you work a ton and so do I. But if on that rare occasion you're not working, you have hobbies that you enjoy, and are they extreme in any way?
Funnily enough, yeah, I do. One of my favorite things to do is get on my 1000 cc side by side and go ripping around the trails for a week or a weekend when we can. And my wife really enjoys it too. And sometimes I do get a little crazy on it. And she's like, "You're a safety guy." I said, "I can't be a safety guy all the time."
Ah, okay, it's check that list. I knew it. I, I'm finding I am too, by the way. I've had, and I want to hear more. I want to hear more about this side by side. But I've had drag racers, I've had skydivers, I've had exploratory aviation folks that are doing like non-sanctioned airplanes that they build and go up in the air. Like I've had spelunkers, folks that go in, caves and do the knots, and I like to wrench on things, like building a truck and stuff like that just for fun, but I'll end up off road in some weird precarious position. I even had a 58-year-old guy, or 55, in his mid 50s, who did motocross. Like, man, we are all a little bit nuts, but also we understand risk. Doesn't mean that you avoid it. It just means that you understand it. So the side by side, is it one of those? Do you have like a razor, or what kind of?
It's a Can-Am, with a turbocharger on it, and yeah,
Nice.
it's a fast little machine.
They
Probably
are.
much faster than it needs to be.
They
But
are.
I'm very lucky that I have my wife and I have a cabin in the north woods of Wisconsin, and are surrounded by trails up there,
Oh,
and
awesome.
we live in an area where side by siding is very popular. So a lot of our friend group has them as well, and so we'll put them on trailers and we'll all head up for 4 or 5 days of riding and having a great time. So yeah, lots of
Awesome.
fun.
That's great. How far is it from your home to your mountain
It's
place?
about 5.5 hours from where we live to get up there, but it's worth every mile.
I'll tell you what, though, that's probably about the threshold. I've talked to my wife about this, and whether we get a lake house or a mountain place, for here, and you go in the winters, you'll probably, well, maybe not, but find someplace warmer. For us in the summer, when it's 118 degrees, you try to get into elevation, you go somewhere else. The challenge is that where Phoenix is there's not a lot of places within 5 or 6 hour drive um, that's affordable and also would give us everything that we want. Durango might be one of them, Durango, Colorado. But I think that's the threshold, that 5 to 6 hours. Well, Vic, I have so enjoyed this conversation. Congratulate your organization on having somebody like yourself, but also the mindset. I can tell immediately that you guys have a passion for your people and safety. It's not a checklist thing, and you said it at the beginning. The hardest thing to do is hire for safety roles because you think kind of like a doctor or an attorney. You think because you have a degree or because you got your license or certification that the person would be good at what they do. And I spend my life evaluating the nuance of why do we think this person's better than just they have a heartbeat and a certification, right? And that's what you're kind of getting at. And this is why we have the podcast. So as a final thought, I just want to say thank you. Is there anything that you would like to cover on the podcast that we didn't cover today? And if not, that's perfectly fine, and we'll wrap.
No, I think we've covered it all. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I appreciate what you do with this podcast, and I've learned a lot from listening to previous episodes, and certainly have brought some of your guests' philosophies into our safety program. So thank you for what you do. It's a great podcast.
That's it for today's episode of the Canary Report. If this conversation helped you reframe how you think about risk and safety, please do me a favor. Hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody who needs to hear it. We're building a new category of safety and risk leadership, one that's faster and smarter. Leaders who aren't just empowered by tech, but whose wisdom is accelerated by it. To learn more about how Yellowbird's cutting-edge platform is empowering leaders to solve workplace safety and risk challenges faster, smarter, and at scale, visit goyellowbird.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Yellowbird pages to stay up to date. Until next time, lead with clarity, know first, and act fast.